Hey, everybody, welcome back to Sith Council. I am so happy that you guys have been enjoying these deep dive episodes, these rewatch episodes that we've done on the movies. We came up with the idea leading into the Book of Boba Fett and wanted to see how a lot of these would tie into the new series, and we've just been so overwhelmed with the positive response, and you guys are really enjoying the rewatch, so thank you. And we are going in order, obviously, so that's why we're hitting Solo here today, and it's me, it's going to be Steph and Mike. And before we do that, everybody want to make sure that if you didn't know already, Mark Ellis and I are going to be at the New York Comedy Club on October 8th. Mark will be there on Thursday and Friday, so get your tickets, markellis.live. And then, the next night, in Brooklyn, we're going to do 20% off right now if you get these tickets. It's the Schmodown Live. It's going to be the singles championship on the line. And on the undercard, Josh Horowitz versus Griffin Newman. Get your tickets now. But we're going to be talking Solo. It's Solo, it's Solo, it's Solo. It's Sith Council, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it. I'm ready. You ready? Great.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Sith Council. It's the Rewatch series here on the SEN channel. I'm me, Christian Harloff, joined, as always, by Mike Kalinowski. Well, not as always.
Hey, now.
But Steph, as always. Steph is more as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Committed.
Oh, don't you even start. Don't even give me that crap.
Yeah, it's nice to see y'all.
Hey, guys, I'm in the car. Hey, Mike, where are you? I'm driving to the studio. We start now. It's like, I thought we were starting in an hour.
But yeah, I know. But you messed that up last week. You know.
No,
that, right?
we're not going to talk about that.
Okay, but you don't. But you admit that.
I don't admit anything.
What do you mean you don't admit that?
Never mind.
Okay.
At least you don't sound like Lady Proxima.
My boy.
So we're talking about Solo. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the movie in general. And so I rewatched this movie last night. And I'm sort of like all of us did. Let me make sure this stupid thing is.
You cleaned up your desktop. I'm happy for you.
Shut your freaking mouth.
Kids show.
I know. I saved myself.
I know. Yeah. Christian and I last episode.
Dropping F-bombs?
Yeah.
Dropped a couple. But all right, so I watched it last night and I finished it up, and I remembered I basically felt the same way about this movie after I watched it this time as I did last time. That is, the first 15 minutes are tough to watch. The first 15 minutes of this movie are like almost like shut it off time for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was rough. Like the Lady Proxima, big worm, all that stuff. Very hard for me to watch. But then it starts to pick up. It starts to move.
Okay.
I think after a certain moment, the story moves, and it's so strange because at one point, this movie, for those people who don't know, Lord Miller shot a bunch of stuff, and then Ron Howard came in and shot a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm watching this kid as Han Solo, and it's like he was given direction to act like this, and then he was like, no, we need more swagger, we need more like Harrison Ford. There was like one note, don't act like Harrison Ford at all.
Right.
And then there was another note, try to emulate him a little bit.
Yeah.
And those scenes, like, because there's certain scenes when he's there, he's like, oh, he's trying to do a thing. And then there's other times like, which character is that?
Yeah.
So I felt that same way with this watch. I also felt that I was way more interested at the end of this movie of watching a Crimson Dawn series than I ever would be of a Solo 2.
Okay.
Because this, very similar to what we talked about with the prequels, I thought that this story was good. I think it was a good story for Solo.
Yeah.
A lot of the, and it wasn't anything about his performance. It's not a bad performance. He just doesn't carry the swagger of Han Solo for me. What did you think, Mike?
I kind of felt like you felt every time I see this film, nothing changes about it for me.
Yeah.
No, I don't certainly like it more. I don't like it less. But I did notice on this rewatch, everything about it it's a good film. Technically, the effects look great. It's Star Wars, but I noticed in this film what was missing for me, and it's prevalent in every other Star Wars film, is the heart.
Yes.
It feels very cold and very. I on the drive here, I was struggling with how am I going to say this because I don't want to come off in a certain way. Like it just felt, not not cold, like cold. It felt like it's a technically fine film. It's directed great. It feels Star Wars. I don't feel like for any minute like this doesn't feel like Star Wars at all. I don't know where I am. It just, I don't know if I don't connect to the characters. Like there's something about Star Wars, you just feel a heart to a through line of the film. Even Rogue One, these characters that we don't know, you know, you are instantly brought into them with Galen and Jin, and that brings you in instantly.
Yeah.
Solo,
And
like,
you're committed to those characters instantly.
Yeah.
In a way I did not commit to any of these characters.
yeah, and as far as his performance go, I don't fault him at all because I'm sure having 3 different directors between the 2, Lord Miller and then Howard, you've got 3 different voices. I'm sure the
Hard.
studio was there. So I don't fault this kid at all. And I didn't want, like, they wanted the guy from Age of Adeline that looks like Harrison Ford, and I was like, no, I don't need that.
You're talking about Anthony and Gruber, who
Yeah.
I still like and think that what I'd like to do with him is now that they have this deep fake guy,
Oh.
I don't need a full series of Han Solo.
Yeah.
Put him in a couple scenes because I watched Jamie Costa's short film
Yeah.
that he did as
The
Han
Obi-Wan
Solo.
one? Oh, it's Han Solo.
Han Solo one.
Yeah.
And for people, the thing I push back on a lot with people who say like, well, he had to eventually get to that swagger.
Nah.
It's only like 10 years before you see him in New Hope, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he would still have that, and it's like Jamie plays a younger Solo, but he's still got that kind of that thing. It's like I don't know, there was something missing, but it wasn't like this is a bad performance.
No, it's not a bad performance.
It's not a bad performance.
That's the thing.
It's not. I enjoy the overall film. I think that the overall film, as I was watching it, like the hustle, the thing with the crew, it's like a heist film.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, and the Jon Favreau character, you know, the guy with the multi-arms. The stuff like leading up to it, though, as we get to those first 15 minutes, though, I didn't like him. I thought he was a little whiny. I hate that the Imperial officer gave him his last name.
Oh my gosh.
I hate that. It takes away so much from that character.
When that happened in the theater, I was just like,
Why?
I can't.
Well, like, why?
Yeah,
There's no
I'm
reason.
alone. I'm alone. Han Solo. So an Imperial, nobody gave one of the greatest characters of all time his name, like randomly. But all of that stuff, like and then you know the stuff with him and Chewie was kind of fun. You know,
Yeah, I like that.
I love the stuff with him and Chewie. I really do. That's that and Qu'ira, which was underutilized in my opinion, and Crimson Dawn are definitely the highlights of the film. I like the heist part of it, but it was also like every scene just felt like kind of like the Clone War episodes that are not essential. Like they were fun watches, but it wasn't essential viewing in any way.
This
for
whole
me.
movie.
Yeah. And I also Han Solo is a character that I think everyone loves so much from the original trilogy that it didn't. When I watch it the second time, I'm like, was this worth it? Like all of this drama with all of these different directors, productions, and then to have an okay story.
Yeah, well, so talking about the story itself, though, I actually think very similar to what we were talking about with the prequels, right?
Yeah.
I think the story itself is pretty solid.
Yeah.
You start with Han Solo. He's on Corellia. He's trying to figure out, like, you know, how the hell to get out there. He's got this love of his life, right? He then has to escape the way we always seen Han Solo before. And I'm telling you, I stand by the fact Proxima has a scary alien voice with subtitles. That scene plays very differently.
Yeah.
And instead of the what are you talking about? And like it's so corny. That scene is so corny that it's like, oh my God, I was contemplating watching that scene going, all right, so this is really falling lower on my list. But then, like I said, once Beckett brings them on board, and he starts working with them, and they have like this plan, and he sees Qu'ira, like Paul Bettany's really good in it.
Yeah,
like, it's the story of him trying to find this love and finding and why. And I do like the idea of Beckett being like, don't trust anybody, kid. Don't all of that, how that stuff and how his philosophies in life, that's what he falls into. By the time we see him in New Hope, he's been screwed over. Like that I get.
Yeah, but the big problem for me, and it still holds true, is by the end of the film, he is not being, looking out for himself. He's looking out for these rebels.
Right.
The whole
Nest.
Yeah, he's helping them. And then, so then we meet him in New Hope, and he's back to like, nah, I'm taking care of myself. It's like, you just helped all those rebels, so why aren't you going to help these rebels? Like, where did that, that to me was a massive like.
Yeah, that was.
He needed to have that like cold, like I'm taking care of myself. We needed to get that like
the reason why, yeah,
Han being Han, like, and like you said, like people talk like, oh, well, he would have grown into this. Like it's not that far. Who I am now is who I was 10 years ago. I'm the same guy. I don't change much.
You have different life experiences, but your essence of who you are,
right?
Like the swagger was, and I don't want to say it's not there at all in the movie,
right?
Because sometimes it is, and I don't know if that was just a mixture of.
Yeah, I think when the way he got involved with the entire group, like Thandie and all of them, was cool. Like he recognized that different things about their suits, like it had like laser holes in it, so he knew that he had stolen it off of someone. Those things worked. I also think with Erin Kellerman's character, Enfys
Nest,
yeah, that's exactly her character, like the same kind of scene introduction that we get in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
You can see why she was cast, and for sure. I mean, I think the character in Falcon is that it was way more hard edged and more on the dark side as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying that intro with the freight train.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's very similar and a similar character.
Yeah, I love that scene though. That was good action.
All of it. I mean, leading up to that, there's not a lot in this movie besides like the first 15 minutes where I'm like, ooh, I can't watch that again. Like I can watch this movie again. There's just a lot of things that happen in it that I don't. You know what it is about this version of Han Solo is that Han Solo, even when he's a real jerk off in Episode 4, he's charming. This version of Han Solo doesn't seem charming to me. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. He's spunky and he is resilient and like gets things done and figures it out, but he's not I wouldn't be like, oh, that's bae in a weird way.
But that's what Han Solo did.
Yeah. Han Solo, I'm like, why do I have a crush on you when you're a total dick sometimes?
Right. Because he's the bad boy.
Yeah.
And this he did not play as the bad boy in this. But I don't want to harp on that for the entire thing because, like, I do think this is a good Star Wars. Well, you know what's funny about it? There are times throughout this movie that it feels like a Star Wars movie, and there's other times that it feels like a new science fiction movie. Like when they go in, right?
Well, yeah, I was talking to Steph about this. Like, the beats work as a science fiction film. You know, there's great action, the build up, the escaping the maelstrom and all that. Yeah. It's great build up. It just doesn't have the heart of Star Wars to me. It just
every once in a while
doesn't have that heart.
Every once in a while it pops in there, right?
Yeah.
But it felt sometimes more like they were trying to make like a new Star Trek movie than it did Star Wars. And look, the new movies did the same thing. Like it's okay to bring in new aliens. Yeah. It's okay to bring in new things. But when they don't fit the tone, there were some times in like Force Awakens and Last Jedi for sure that these things pop in and it just doesn't seem like Star Wars. It seems like another fantasy movie altogether. Mandalorian is like a gold standard at this point of you can bring in new aliens, you can bring in new things, but it all feels like what we've seen before, Star Wars. And there was a lot of that missing in this film.
Yeah.
But the relationship with Chewie works for sure. I think that was when that character shines. If what I take out of this is, and I know, and I'm not bagging on the people that do it because there's like the hashtag of the make Solo 2 happen. I don't need it, but what I would really love to see is a Crimson Dawn series. I think that is the stuff that's set up the most here.
Yeah,
the Darth Maul stuff, Qu'ira. I mean, if you can get Emilia Clarke back on television in a role like this, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah, and if you know, and then if Han Solo pops in to do whatever to save her, or not save her, but save you know, save the day or come in and help and whatever, then fine. But like, I don't know. I don't necessarily need to see his version of it again.
I agree. Another part that is a strength, and I think you two will agree, is Lando. I love Donald Glover as Lando. That from the moment that he got casted, you're like, okay, there's no one else who could play that, which I think made such a stark difference between Han Solo's casting, where you're like, oh, I could see other people doing this, but with Lando, you're like, it's Donald Glover.
Yeah. He also got his voice down there, and the way that Lando enunciated words and said certain words, and his real accent would come out. Donald Glover took that, so there were times that he said things you're like, that's how Lando would say it. That's how you felt him as Lando. But again, emphasizing the fact that it's not a bad performance by this kid. It's just a matter of I never locked into it because the backstory, the stuff with his and there was stuff that they left on the table a lot. Like, how about your dad? Did you get along with him? Not really. And then they never bring that up again.
Yeah, which is like we're finding out how Han Solo became the Han Solo we know. So wouldn't that be
a main
imperative?
Thing. Yeah.
To the story. So I think in some of the plot points of Han Solo, that's where the lack of heart was. Because I'm like, I want to know more about him. We see it kind of with Qu'ira. It's a completely different relationship than he has with Leia, which I appreciate because all loves are different. But
he doesn't even have that playfulness with her. He's just kind of chasing her around like a puppy dog the whole time. And he never really, he's never like that. I mean, they do like the throwback closets. They're in the closet, so they do the Falcon scene where in Empire. But it didn't have the same kind of movement that scene had because there was that playfulness that he has with Leia at that point and that sarcasm.
Yeah.
But the mission and the stuff and I didn't mind the stuff with the droid.
I like her.
I loved L3.
A lot of people had a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with that. I think that whole thing and the fact that she has this thing for Lando and the cute conversation she has with Qu'ira about like
that was great.
How would that work? And
it does.
And it does. And then that I really liked the idea that her navigation system is why the Falcon is so good. I thought that was a very clever way to put that in there.
I love that. I love her, and I could see exactly why people in the Star Wars fandom don't like her because she, has she doesn't like authority and she questions, being in control and like does a lot of the she's anti-control and she feels that social justice warrior type that a lot of Star Wars people don't necessarily love, so I get that, but I do like
it was a droid and
I thought she did it in a funny way. It worked. She's a droid. It was funny.
You're like, of course Lando would have a relationship with the droid. Of course he would.
And my favorite thing Donald Glover said was in an interview, he's like, we're in space, like you can't just like one species.
Right. And he had a very different affection for the droid, and he was obviously really upset. But I thought that they played off. I thought their relationship, actually, for as much as like I said, I don't think there are no moments when he plays like Han Solo. I do. I think the last scene, the Sabacc game, I think he's very Han Solo-ish. Where you have when he finally gets the Falcon, and there were those moments, Mike, that you're talking about, that when they put that John Williams score in, it felt like it. I understand why they led to the John Williams score. But I think it was missing in the opening scene when Qu'ira and him are racing away. I didn't love the music choice, and I still never really loved the idea of no opening crawl. I think Star Wars always should have it, whether it's the saga series.
And you see the machinations of corporate, the studio going, we got to separate ourselves from the other things, and you're just like. No, if like Filoni was just like, no, put the Kroll in there. Like he's like one of those guys. It's like the fans want it, you got to have it. It just because they still do something. It's a lawless time fighting for hyperfuels. Like you still have them. The text
the
there
into it.
Just
they wanted to separate themselves.
They wanted to be different.
There was no necessary.
I just like. And I agree. Back what you said earlier. For me, like Glover doesn't do an impression of Billy D. Williams.
No.
He embraces it in the spirit of him. I don't want a guy doing an impression.
Right. That's probably the fear of why that role of Alden took it so differently. Because he probably doesn't want to go up there trying to do an impression of Han Solo. And that's ultimately why he was probably cast in it.
Ford has such a distinct voice.
He does.
Especially even as Solo. It's just this laid back, kind of laconic.
Yeah.
And he's younger, but not that much younger. It's like the one moment I did feel he was Solo was. And I'm curious if it was a reshoot, was when he shoots Beckett. I love that.
Han shot first. I like that.
Like, doesn't even wait for him to finish. And I was like, that's Han.
Like I said, there were some really cool moments in this movie. A lot of cool moments in this movie. And there's more stuff about, like I said, if this was a standalone, different character, Dash.
That's what I said. I said that once. I don't know. Maybe you and I talking. It's like, if this was a Dash Rendar movie, great. Yeah. It would have been awesome.
You just change some stuff around.
A few things around.
The Wookiee.
And it's Dash Rendar.
Absolutely.
Or even Lando.
Or make a Lando movie. Sure. And adding him as somebody different. But like the story. I love the Crimson Dawn stuff. I love the fact that Paul Bettany sends him out on this mission, and they got to try and they blow this mission. It's ultimately working for the mob, and you screwed it up, right?
Yeah.
And the throwaway line of, or not throwaway, but the kind of lead of you know who I answer to, and he ain't gonna be happy about this. Like, well, who's that, right? And I remember seeing the Darth Maul moment when it happened, and I was sitting next to Ken, and I looked and I whispered over to him. I go, "That's ballsy." I said, a lot of people are not going to understand how Darth Maul's alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't watch Clone Wars.
You'd have no idea. I thought he died. Like the casual viewer who went to go see a Star Wars movie would be like, how is he still alive?
His legs got chopped off.
Right. How is he still alive? But as this movie gets older and there's more stuff that keeps coming out, then more and more people are starting to understand that.
It feels, though, that was a thread that will now be left in the wind.
I think
so.
They're going to pick up on
just
Darth
knowing what we're getting so far, all the shows. Yeah. That seems like Solo. We tried, it didn't work. It's relegated to here. Now, could that thread be picked up by someone else eventually? Sure.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that going anywhere.
I don't think there's a thread as far as Solo goes, right?
Yeah, that's.
But I do think that they set up. I actually think they set up more with Infus Nest and Crimson Dawn.
Well, I'm just surprised they didn't announce. Not even they didn't announce anything. It's not part of what we know coming forward.
So here's a reason why I think there's a possibility that this series could be announced in the next couple of year, 2 years, more so than it would have a year ago, right?
Okay.
Now that the Rangers of the New Republic seems to not be a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Really?
It's the rumor is that they're not doing that show anymore.
Yeah, and there's been no talk
because it was
about
that much on one character.
Assuming so.
Wow.
I don't know.
That sucks. That was one I was looking forward to.
I was too, but let's say that's out of.
Okay, so that's gone.
I think that the reason why you're gonna have a chance to get Daenerys Targaryen back in a lead role on television, right?
Yeah.
As Qu'ira.
Okay.
Inside of Crimson Dawn, working with Maul.
Yeah.
Ray Park is getting up there in years, right? I know Sam Witwer will probably be doing the voice, right? But Ray Park's getting up there. I mean, he's not super old. He's probably like 50 years old, whatever it is. But let's capitalize. If we're going to use him. Use him now. And you put him in the show, and you get that because now a lot of fans want to see Darth Maul in the Obi-Wan series. I think that's a massive mistake, and it doesn't make any sense. But I want to see him. I want to see him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Darth Maul just is such an iconic character. We got more obviously in the Clone Wars, but for the little amount that he was in the prequels and people are obsessed with him, it feels that they put him in this movie because they would want to expand on it more. And we have so many, all the stories coming out, they're focused on the Jedi or like the light side of the Force. Like I do think that there's a gap, which we always talk about, focusing on the dark side.
And let's get a mobster story.
Yeah.
That's what this is a mobster story. I mean, I think that if you do this Crimson and also make it very clear, Crimson Dawn was a rumor that was going around 2-3 years ago, right? That they were talking about doing this. So it's set up very well. And I will also say that what I loved about Solo at the end there was the stuff with Beckett and the setup and the conversation that he and Solo have and the way that relationship is and the fact that he tells him don't trust anybody. He's ultimately the one who rats him out. Yeah. And then he comes in and I like the fact that Solo kind of duped Paul Bettany and that whole ending is fun. Yeah. And the stuff with Infus Nest and the way that they come in and swoop in and take out the
ending's
soldiers.
Strong.
It's cool. It's like and the other thing, even though I thought that it was kind of forced and not as I loved seeing him in the Empire because there was always that rumor that he flew in the Empire, right?
Yep.
And that war scene when they were fighting whatever planet it was in
Mimban.
Yeah, and you're probably gonna have to know that. So having the conversation of why they're there, and he's like, well, I can't remember what the Imperial says to Han, but he's like, well, this is their planet.
We're bringing peace to the galaxy and this and that, and he's like, well, that's their planet. What are you doing? What are we doing here?
Right.
Why are we here?
Like that part of it, I wanted to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed all that. I mean, I almost think that you could. I mean, I guess because you need to set up the Qu'ira stuff, but just get rid of all that crap in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And just take place right as he's in the Imperial.
Yeah, it was so weird when he was just like, I'm going to be a pilot, best in the galaxy. I'm like, what?
Right.
I wouldn't say that. Like, he was like, he would know I am the best pilot. He knows he's the best pilot. I
Yeah,
don't have to
he'd
prove it.
already
He's like,
be
I know
saying
I am.
it.
Yeah, because what the people who put the argument of like, oh no, he wasn't arrogant or cocky, then it's forced and it's not real.
Yeah.
It's you never thought that Han just decided one day I'm going to be a cocky
I'm gonna be
jerk.
cocky.
There's
He just wasn't-
insecure, cocky people, and then there's
Who are
confident,
competent.
cocky
Yeah, he's just
people.
confident. He
Because
just knows it.
even when he's old and grizzled in The Force Awakens,
Yeah.
right? He's still got that thing.
Yeah,
He's still
he
got
does.
that. He's got that. Even that's not the way the Force works. Like it's still like that.
It's like the fact that he's saying that.
Yeah.
So
It's so funny. It's like and there's all of that. But and as I said, watching it, I would go through moments going, oh, there it is. Oh, now it's gone. Oh, there it is. And now it's gone. But the stuff with him and Lando, I thought worked really well.
Yeah.
I am bummed at the way that the Kessel Run plays out. I always thought the Kessel Run was like a race.
A race.
And,
Yeah.
and then the fact that they made the Kessel Run just like he's got to zip through this
It's
thing
a
and
path through the
and-
maelstroms. It's like,
and then this big octopus thing starts chasing him around, and it was cool looking. I didn't dislike it,
Yeah.
but it was just I was like, oh, that's what the Kessel Run was. A little bit of a letdown.
yeah.
The Wookiee stuff, we always thought we were going to see Wookiees fighting in Return of the Jedi. That was what was supposed to happen, and then
Yeah.
turned into the Ewoks. So watching Wookiees fight and break out
Yeah.
from the good moments.
yeah, I love that.
There were some raw moments in it for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It made me excited to see Rogue One because you think about these kind of standalone stories, and this one really was a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way that we've already gotten to know these characters and love these characters, but Rogue One was different characters, and then you got like the Darth Vader payoff,
Right.
where it just made it feel more interconnected to the universe. Where this is like this could literally leave or stay, and it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's when this movie came out, it was right after Last Jedi. It came out in May, which I thought was a colossal error for them to release this in
As opposed to December.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
May was where Star Wars made its name. May in 1977 was May, and then and all the prequels, the original, it made its name in May, and May was Star Wars' day.
Yeah.
But when they debuted The Force Awakens in December, and it annihilated, and
Right.
it was the first movie to ever crack 100 million opening weekend at any movie ever, right? And then Rogue One did it, and then
Yeah.
and then Last Jedi did it, and they were like, okay, this Star Wars is now a December thing. Then Infinity War comes out and just murders the box office.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, and to his own credit, Bob Iger says, shouldn't have done that. He pushes, this is not a Lucasfilm thing, it was Bob Iger. He pushes them to release it in May, 3 weeks after, and it gets nailed right after all the crap that's going down with Last Jedi with the fan base.
Yeah.
Right after 3 weeks of Infinity War. If you push this movie to December, is it a massive, huge movie? I don't think so, but I
Right.
think it does significantly better.
Yeah. You get a little more breathing room.
Yeah, it gives you an opportunity, I think, to then spin it off because
Yeah.
because you look at there's not like there's some dialogue in the beginning that's pretty cringeworthy, if you will. The writing gets better. I would love to get a behind the scenes of what the hell is Lord and Miller.
Yeah,
Oh,
what
God,
was
yeah.
What was what?
Yeah, you would
I
love
know,
to.
I was thinking
And
about that
nothing
the
has
whole
come
time.
out of that.
No.
You've never heard anything slip.
No,
And this is years now. and you're like,
NDAs.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's come out.
But I will say this, my twin, and I've heard a lot of
Your twin?
Yeah. You know, she had a twin?
Yeah.
Twin sister.
Do you?
Yeah.
What's her-
Sister.
What's her name?
Twin sister.
Yeah, we're Kim. I post about her all the time.
Kim
but-
Sabra?
Yeah.
And she's a twin.
The one and only. Yeah.
Are you pulling my leg here?
No, why would I start a story randomly like that? So she is she just started watching all of the Star Wars movies in preparation. Actually, Mandalorian, I think, made
the one that got
her
her.
excited
Yeah.
about it. And she loved Solo.
Okay.
And I talked to a lot
Okay.
of my family members
Now,
who aren't.
now wait a minute. Before you
Huh.
answer that, did she watch it in order?
No.
Okay, because the question. So she had seen Harrison Ford as Han Solo first. Who'd she see as Han Solo first?
This, I'm pretty
That's
sure.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead.
So as a standalone to a not even a Star Wars fan, I think when she saw this, she probably had. I don't even know if she had seen No, because Mandalorian hadn't come out yet. When this
she had no comparisons.
No
to anybody.
comparison. She loved this movie more than when she saw the prequels when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And then I talked to other people who had family members who felt the same. They liked this movie because it's like a standalone. You don't really need to know much in the Easter eggs that we picked up on, like Darth Maul. She doesn't care about like what happened before.
Right.
She just is introduced to him now.
So I'm so glad you shared that because it was one of the thoughts that I had last night. Like, if you watched this before you ever met Han Solo, and this was the first Star Wars movie that you ever saw and you checked it out, and your introduction, because that's the comparison that people are going to fairly make. And I don't think people go, oh, it's unfair to give it. That's the role this kid chose. You have to. And it's not just, well, you'd never be Harrison Ford. Of course not. But you do have to take things because Harrison Ford was the creator of this character inside of what he brought to it.
Yeah.
So you do have to take the same way that we're just talking about Donald Glover and what he did with Billy D. Williams. But if you're seeing it for the first time and you're introduced that way, does it resonate with you more? And it seems like that it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. So I think, because if you don't know anything about the character, then he's a good actor.
Yeah. I don't, there's not one time throughout this entire movie I'm just like, oh, he's like, Hayden Christensen had to really push through because he just didn't have enough direction. There's some stuff that it just comes out like really doesn't come out great. I never had that moment in this movie.
No,
I never had that. I was like, I was excited when he was cast.
Yeah.
But stuff like, again, the beginning stuff I could do without. He gets, well, once it picks up, like as I was watching it last night, because I was a little hesitant. Was going to watch it obviously for this, but as I was sitting down, I'm like, I'm not looking forward to this. I really wasn't looking forward to it. And then I get to that Proxima scene, and I'm like, okay, this is exactly why I wasn't looking forward to this. And then I found myself like, okay, now I want to watch the rest because I'm intrigued, and I said to myself, I'm gonna obviously talk tomorrow about, and I have to because it is a big concern for me, the Harrison Ford Han Solo stuff and the character of it. But getting away from all that and just watching this as a movie, am I enjoying it? I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy it but I forgot how much I didn't like the Lady Prop because I usually don't care that.
I probably didn't help.
Yeah, no, probably not. Because I like Maz. A lot of people don't. I loved Maz's character. I think her scene in The Last Jedi
Last Jedi I didn't like.
I didn't like that. Yeah. But when she's like in space,
it seemed like a laser tag video.
So bizarre, but I like that character, and I do normally agree with Christian and like put subtitles on a lot of these alien characters. But she was just like the Mike Wazowski paper one. Like I felt like it was a Pixar character in a Star Wars movie, and it just didn't make sense. But then after you, once you got Chewie and him combined, I was like, okay, I do remember there's parts that I genuinely love.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm agreeing.
Okay, yeah, I think that like the Chewie stuff, and I didn't even mind it. I don't know if I did it first, but I didn't mind it last night when he's talking Wookiee because
it bothered me.
It
did?
No,
it did.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me because there was always that question of how does he understand him?
Yeah,
and you don't need to ever see him do it again. You just
no,
because he said, "No, I understand a little." He's like, let's talk this out, and they start playing together. That the playfulness with him and Chewie is there
worked
throughout the whole time, and then it's pretty cool when Chewie sits down next to him, and the first time he sits down in the Falcon, and the music starts. Like that stuff's pretty fun. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I agree completely. I don't mind him speak. I actually thought that brought more love of Han Solo's character to me because you forget Chewie's out here translating for everyone. He has to like understand every other language, and Chewie's no one knows Wookiee. Like, it's kind of messed up. So it's a more lovable characterization of Han that he does speak that,
and it shows why there's like that bond
connection.
You know what it was? There was always that. I don't know why they stayed away from this, but there was always that thing about the life debt that Han Solo.
Yeah,
and it wasn't there. But it wasn't really. But why? Because he saved them from the prison. There wasn't. They don't really ever say it in the book. In the book, they do.
There's so much that we, as kids, growing up with Solo, and you want to know about the Kessel Run, the life debt,
right?
Like all these things. You knew he was in the Imperial Navy. You knew that,
right.
But then again, maybe they look at it as like, well, it's not canon anymore, so we can do what we want.
Change it up a little bit.
we wanted to see Han in the Imperial Navy and doing his thing, and we got 5 minutes of it, a little scene, and you're just like, no, we want to see him fighting against these guys. I don't. You know, you talk about how with the Andor series, you want to see the other side of it.
Yeah.
Like that was a perfect opportunity where you see the other side. Like these guys, kind of what Finn did, but maybe they thought they already covered it with Finn.
I think if they hit that movie, if they hit that movie today, I think it's done very differently.
You think they do the Solo film today?
Yeah. Okay. They did say because of what they have set up in Mandalorian, what they're setting up in the series.
Yeah.
I also, it's look, they were throwing things at the wind and they were basically trying to get people in the theater and trying to go in after an iconic character. I just thought that was too big of a swing to do that early. Was that
okay? It's weird because I feel like we're now in two different eras of Star Wars in the sense that we had the new sequels and then the Filoni stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It feels very much a lot like what DC is dealing with the Snyder stuff, and now they're kind of breaking off on their own
and they maneuvered around,
finding their own what works. And
people don't talk about that enough, dude. The Mandalorian got the fan base at least back. I mean, look, there's still a lot of people out there that are just going to throw garbage at it just to do it. But there's it went from I'm so disappointed by this that I can't watch Star Wars anymore. And then I think it's like a balance now of like. And I certainly didn't feel that way about not watching Star Wars anymore. But the more and more I was let down by the new movies, but enough so that I still was like, well, what's going to happen in Mandalorian?
Yeah.
How are they going to do that?
Where are we going now?
And when they had these conversations of all, like we just had, Katie Sackhoff is going to be on Big Thing on Monday.
Nice.
And she talked about a lot of the directors and how working with people who love Star Wars, how it helped and how it influenced, and the creative process behind it. And she talked about working in the volume and all those things. And I think that the stuff that they learn throughout working on Mandalorian, I think they're going to take that into film.
I would think so. I would hope so.
Start moving stuff into film. Yeah. So, do you guys want to see a Crimson Dawn series, or you don't care?
I would definitely want to see that. I'm on my Soprano rewatch or watch for the first time. So anything mob based, I'm here for. Yeah. That would be really, really cool. And I think that Star Wars would gain a new fan base of people who want a darker side of Star Wars because some people
Maul.
Yeah, exactly. One of the most loved characters. I think some criticism of Star Wars is that it is super heartwarming, which I love about it.
Yeah.
But some people want that dark and gritty.
Yeah. Mike, do you care? Would you care about it?
I don't care.
Not as much. Yeah.
Nah.
It's fair.
I'm one of those guys that always says, like, I love a Star Wars without lightsabers and a Skywalker. And that would probably be one that would have no lightsabers and no Skywalkers.
No, have them all, though.
Yeah, there
Were
he goes.
you excited about The Mandalorian?
Was I excited about it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because at the time when that was announced, I thought, because for the longest time, and Christian probably remembers this, there was always talk that they were going to do a bounty hunter show.
Yes.
It was the bounty hunters in the Star Wars, and I was like, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And so The Mandalorian, so that got my excitement. It wasn't what I thought it would be, but it hooked me up right away.
Well, Rogue One was rumored before it came out was that it was the plans for the Death Star was like a whole thing with the bounty hunters trying to find it and trying to get it. That was originally what I had heard. The rumors were that it wasn't like these ragtag group of like wannabe rebels. It was bounty hunters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff now, and I think Disney Plus has opened it up because now when movies start to get pitched, that those conversations as they sit around, they go, because Solo 2 was signed. It was, if this movie does well, we're doing Solo 2, and Kaz didn't even said as much. He had an idea for it. And now the conversation is, all right, well, these things aren't going to necessarily work as a feature film, but does it work for Disney Plus?
Yeah.
That conversation is going to happen because we know Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Acolyte, Obi-Wan, Andor, Ahsoka. Right, those are the ones we know.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we get the question when we have this new Disney Plus. Like when is it? October? The drop. Remember they did the whole
Visions.
Not Visions. No, they did the announcement thing for first it was DC Fandom, and DC Fandom's doing it again, and then Disney Plus did their whole drops.
D23 version.
Remember last year when we did all the coverage on all the movies, on all those shows?
Was that when
Patty Jenkins was announced? Yeah,
yes.
So they're going to do another one. Do we think that there's going to be any more drops or information about new shows?
I think they'll maybe focus more on footage,
like trailers,
because last time we had no footage. Right. So I think this time we'll get
Obi-Wan,
Andor. Maybe, definitely Book of Boba.
Right.
I think
Right.
maybe Mandalorian teases.
A couple more
I don't think we'll
trailers
get
to
any
come
new announcements since we haven't anything that they announced back then drop yet.
Well, yeah, but unless they drop the New Republic, the Rangers of the New
Rangers
Republic,
of the New Republic.
and then
Yeah.
they replace it with something. But
Oh.
but I don't think they need to. I don't think that they need to announce that for sure. I don't think it's necessary. But it's the other.
Because they even said that they slated movies for 2026. Like I
Right.
think they out said what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
They went above and beyond of saying what's the plan.
Yeah.
There's no reason let's go to the Patty Jenkins movie first. You know Taika's movie's coming out.
Yeah.
Those are your
Yeah.
two movies.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Series, you know what they might announce is a new animated series. I mean, even though they have, I guess, Bad Batch is coming
Right,
out again,
Bad Batch,
so maybe not. But either way, I would actually be up for this Crimson Dawn thing. I just don't hold your breath on a Solo 2. I don't think it'll ever
No, it
happen
ain't
for
happening.
people. I mean, I think it's an admirable hashtag.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I just don't.
I like all the Star Wars movies, and I do think this might be my last.
I'm contemplating where it depends on because at the end of this when we're done I'm sure we'll put our list together of which ones. The question is how we're going to look at it, right?
Right.
Are we going to look at it as our top 10 films, 11 films,
11, I believe.
11, whatever it is, our top
Yeah.
list? Are we looking at this as far as best made films or how we enjoyed them? Because for example,
I have to decide that.
Last Jedi, out of all of these movies, is one of the best made films
Yes.
as far as how it's made.
Look wise and cinematography,
Look wise,
sure.
everything
Yeah.
even on a certain. Not if you agree with the choices themselves, but the writing.
Yeah.
The actual writing. Ryan Johnson is a good writer.
Right.
When you look at it, all that stuff. But for me, it lands on my list on the bottom.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if you told me right now you can only watch Attack of the Clones or Last Jedi, that's the only Star Wars movies you're allowed to watch, I take Attack of the Clones.
Me too.
Oh wow.
After rewatching it the other
See,
day.
I gotta rewatch Attack of the Clone or Last Jedi.
Last
See how I
Jedi.
feel.
But saying that, in no world is Attack of the Clones a better made film.
No.
It just isn't. But I enjoy the story and I enjoy where it leads up to way more than I do with Last Jedi, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what it's doing with the characters set up.
So I don't know where this fits on that aspect because I think I enjoy watching this one more than I did Attack of the Clones because even though in the overall scheme of things, the story for Attack of the Clones plays more, this to me, after that first 15 minutes, which was tough, I really enjoyed watching this movie. And I just got, I have to get past the fact, minus the open criticism on it,
Right.
because that's what we're doing here. But the fact that I don't feel like he's Han Solo, the movie was fun for me. And I
Yeah.
liked the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do like the end. I think
Yeah.
it was a strong landing, and there's a lot of great parts of the film. But just overall, I think with Star Wars, when I'm thinking of, what would I point people to of why I love Star Wars, this would not be at the top of my list.
Get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else that we're missing here, Mike? You gotta take off.
I do.
All right. It's nice to see you.
Okay. I gotta leave right now. Okay. I gotta go.
You gotta go. He's got
Yeah, I
got gas.
got a doctor appointment.
Okay.
Shit, I got gas.
Did you say that?
Yeah,
I have gas.
You have gas?
there's a toilet
Did you
right
say
there.
that? Did you go to
Here we
the,
go.
you just said
Here
you
we
had
go.
gas.
See what I? Is this what I
Just-
miss?
You just said you had gas.
Yeah, the whole last episode, we
just
just
us talking
talked
about
about
you
your
having
gas. Revenge of the Sith, just gas.
Revenge of the gas.
Revenge of the gas. Oh, that's a good one.
Try
No,
it.
just-
What was that?
Here, you just no. The way you do it, my buddy taught me this a long time ago. Just
here we go.
Just say FRRRRT. Say that. That's how it is. This is what you learn.
That's what I learned. That was
Wow.
in college.
Christian.
Learning how to fart.
Yeah. You two are talented.
That's right. Should have cast us as Han Solo. Just trade off.
I'm gonna get tattooed fart on my
Oh
forearm.
my
Get out of here,
gosh.
will you?
All right.
All
Yeah, I
right,
have to
Mike
tell-
Kalinowski.
What are you guys gonna talk about when I'm
Sorry.
gone? Anything good? All right.
We're gonna finish up this. We got about 15 minutes, so
Okay,
we're gonna
well, you
finish
guys have
up.
fun finishing up. I'm gonna
Thank
go
you.
see the
All
doctor.
right, don't hurt yourself.
Bye. Good
All right,
luck.
Mike Kalinowski, everybody.
Mike Kalinowski, everybody.
All right. Let me see if I have. Oh, that's not it.
I could switch seats.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay.
That's probably better.
Make life easy.
Yeah, make it a lot better. So Steph's gonna go ahead and sit over here. Gonna move Steph over. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Probably should. I didn't realize that Mike was gonna have to leave us, but nonetheless, let's see if I can find a. Everybody's gonna be dealing with this now. That's not almost there. And then the last thing. Watch. This is what you guys are gonna see me do. This. I'm gonna do it on the fly. For people who are the audio listeners, like, what's he talking about? Don't worry about it.
Magic.
It's magic. I'm learning on the fly. But Steph, is there anything else that stood out about this movie that you maybe didn't see before that you enjoyed watching?
Sandy Newton's character, Val or
Val.
Yeah. I thought I still believe she was underutilized.
Yeah.
I feel like she died way too quickly for me, but I love her. I really liked that character, and I feel like there was more to explore with that, and I think that she could have played more into the mentorship of Han Solo as well as Woody Harrelson's character.
Yeah.
And so I just wish she was in more Star Wars, because I think like her look, everything was just killer, and then she died.
I understood though why they killed her off though for Beckett to, because Beckett's a pretty, I mean, he's a criminal, but he's got that love.
Yeah.
And when she's gone, there's nothing.
But how do you feel about that switch? Because to me, I feel like, he had that moment of silence for her, like at the top of the mountain, and Han and Chewie came up to him, and they were deciding their next plan. But then it just felt like there was she was just forgotten instantly, and it didn't really affect him in the long run.
That's true. The question is how much of that. I'm so curious about these rewatches.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm so rewrites. Like what happened inside of those rewrites? Like was there more about her? Was it like who was the focus? What happened? We're never gonna know, and because when we do, the movie's gonna make a lot more sense because there's a lot of choppy stuff going on.
Yeah, I just feel like with Beckett's character, I didn't really get I understood some of his motives, but it wasn't clear. And some of those, and it's a over 2-hour movie, so it's not like the movie should be longer. I agree with you, what you said earlier in this episode, that some parts should have been cut out and other parts should have been explored more, including him. If he's going to be Han Solo's mentor and like a reason for Han Solo being the Han Solo we know, then I need to understand him a little bit more than, oh, here's a job for you, here's another job for you.
Yeah, and there was, I don't know. There wasn't. I think that there wasn't a lot of depth.
Yes.
That's what I think a lot of this was missing. That there wasn't a lot of depth in this overall movie. Like everything with Han Solo, everything with even Lando. When Lando shows up there, I think Lando had a little bit more of it because of the droid, and but there wasn't. You didn't learn much about them. It's like they didn't know what to focus on. Did they focus on Qu'ira and Han? I did like, by the way, the way that they played with, because Lando in Empire Strikes Back, Han, we have to save Han. He always said Han. Yeah. Everyone's like Han, and then when he calls him Han in this one, he's like, it's Han. He goes, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, okay, there was an explanation of why.
That's a good explanation.
Yeah, it was
not
fun.
an Imperial soldier naming your name.
Solo. It's like, why? It's like, and I remember when all that went down, that when freaking Uncle Bob said, we're going to find out how he got the name Solo. And I was like, it's his last name. We found out a while ago. It's like giving him a last name of Solo. It's like, why? Because there's no reason for it. It's even the fact of like explain to me, why does he hate his original last name? Is it because of his dad? If so, you've just mentioned
then
it once.
Who's the dad?
Who's the dad? What did the dad do? It's like,
a flashback I think could have been really, really cool.
Yeah, show me why he hates his last name.
Yeah.
Why does he need a new last name, and why does this jerk off give him a name? Solo.
No, I know. I was like,
why does he take it?
What exactly? It's Han Solo, the person who talks back to everyone at any moment's notice.
He lets an Imperial give him his last name?
Yeah.
He's just like, no, that's what the guy got me through the gate. My last name is this. There was no reason to have that. It was such a throwaway moment. But I don't know. I don't really have a lot of complaints minus, after that moment besides like
the first time.
Oh, and I love the fact that they bring up what's her name, Singh, when she was killed by Beckett. We for a long time we were like, oh, we thought she was still running around, but he's like, no, the fall killed her. I just pushed her.
Yeah, I did like that part.
Yeah, because we never knew what happened to her, and the fact that that Beckett killed her was interesting, and I liked that they played that lore. That was, I remember that when they played with that. I mean, this movie played more with outside canon than a lot of the other things had balls before Mandalorian.
100. Yeah. That's one of the parts that I like, that it was different from most fan service that we see in Star Wars, where I feel like it wasn't fan service. It was a good form of fan service where, like, if you've watched the movies, you've read some of the books, you've watched Clone Wars, you get little things that other people won't get, and it still makes sense to the overall story. Yep. But a lot of it felt like, here's the things we want to fill out, like the Kessel Run and how he got his name, and then they were like, just put them in places really quickly.
It's like, do we think that's clever? Do we think that'll work? Do we think that, like, how it ties into the actual story itself? Because we know we need to get them here. What if we just make the Kessel Run this thing? And it's like, but watching him the fly and him getting, I did really like the stuff with him falling in love with the Falcon.
Yeah.
And the Falcon looked cleaner. And one of my favorite moments of the whole movie is playing the holochess with Chewie. And Chewie gets pissed off, and he's like, and Woody Harrelson's like, they're holograms. You can't brush them to the side. You can't do that. And him talking to him, I wanted to see more moments like that. Like that, though, that line there that Woody Harrelson had with Chewie was the kind of stuff. It was more reminiscent to me of the relationship that Han and Chewie had in the original trilogy. Was that kind of moment?
Mm-hmm. I felt like they didn't know if they wanted to make it like a buddy cop film, a heist film, an origin story, a love story. It was like so much was trying to be done in this little Star Wars story that's why we can pick and choose things that we like, but that's why I believe it doesn't land really.
Same way.
Yeah.
Wonder if Lord and Miller shot that scene.
Yeah.
The chess scene. It seems like something.
I think all the funny parts probably were Lord and Miller.
No, Ron Howard's done comedy before. I do like the fact that he brought in Warwick Davis, who pops up in every Star Wars movie, and he of course played Willow for Ron Howard in the movie. So I mean, Ron Howard is a great director. And the fact that he was brought into this and the amount of time that he was able to turn it around and do what he did, it should be admired. He's a great director, and people don't give him enough credit that he was brought in to clean this thing up. This thing is, from the fact that we have to say, I wonder what's shot, I wonder what they shot, I wonder what he shot. That's a testament to him, because he had to piece this all together.
Yeah, totally. I really think it's not on the creative Lord Miller or Ron Howard.
Yeah.
That I think that a lot of like politics came into play.
It was messy.
Yeah, it was just messy. But both as creators, you just can't not respect them. And I think visually, it's a cool movie and it's a great watch. And there's so many cool scenes and good parts, but you could tell it's not connected.
Yeah, people always say that The Last Jedi is Kathleen Kennedy's biggest failure. That movie made $1 billion. As an executive, when you're looking, equating it to like a championship, she won a championship with that movie. Whether or not you liked the championship matches or not, she won the championship.
All 3 of the movies.
Yeah, but this one was her biggest miss.
I agree. People don't realize what an executive producer is.
Yeah.
They're not the creative. They're not supposed to be.
They're not supposed to be, but but that's the problem.
Yeah.
I think that was the big problem with this movie. Mm-hmm. I think, and even with Rogue One, I think she started to get too involved, and she didn't trust. If you're going to bring Lord and Miller in because they're a hot project, either go with them or don't hire them.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to trust the vision of the people you hire.
The Russo brothers were comedy before they started doing Avengers movies. They were like Community, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they had trust from Marvel, and they did their thing. They were too scared about the version. It's like, go with them, and then the same thing happened with Colin Trevorrow in the last movie, and it's like, And this is, I think, was two more hands-on stuff. As where now, I think with Mandalorian, and it's unfair for when people say, well, she has nothing to do with Mandalorian. It's Favreau and Filoni. Her job as a producer is to put those people in place and then oversee everything going on, but don't get too involved in all of it. That's what a really great producer can do. What do you need? Favreau says it in the latest gallery thing. she is hands-on as far as what we need, what we're able to do. She gets us. It's like getting them the tools that they need. That's what a great producer does. I think she lost a lot of that in this movie. I think in Rogue One, in Last Jedi, and all that stuff. I think that's fixed itself in TV.
Yeah, I agree with. I can definitely see that criticism because you're not supposed. Once you hire people, you're supposed to trust their creative vision.
Trust their creative vision.
Because it's such a different position to know where the story is going to go than to oversee a Star Wars.
I hired you because I think that you're going to be able to do this, 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 and this, and you're outside the box and you're doing this, and then you start going outside the box, and I go, no, I want you to do this instead. Like, well, why did you hire me?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't do this, this, and this. They're not going to like that. Like, but why did you hire me? And it's like, and then it just this big clash, and it's like that Edgar Wright thing that happened back in the day, which is a different circumstance because Edgar Wright was hired on Ant-Man before the MCU was even a thing. But once he was still on, once MCU was, and then they had their vision and their plan. So when he was on, they're like, well, this is not what I want to do. And they're like, well, we need to follow this way. All right, I'm gone. Cool. These guys were filming the movie. They shot everything. And I don't know. I don't know how much it would have changed anything because I think that I don't know. I'm so curious of because there's two versions of Alden in this movie. There's one where there's no traces of him trying to be Harrison Ford, and then there's other ones where like, oh, he's giving it a go there. Who was who? I would assume that Ron Howard is the one who tried to get it out of him a little bit more.
Yeah, well, just looking at Ron Howard's work, he has some of the most iconic characters and character work that take like a very specific take on characters. Yeah. And part of that Alden's representation of Han didn't really have a take. It just had a delivery that was solid enough. Yeah,
and that's also, I think it goes into the writing though for like what
that's true.
The exploration of who he was and all that it was missed, and I think that it could have played as. It's funny because I think that maybe people would have been more accepting, myself included, on a television series of Han Solo, if similar to Obi-Wan, because he would have more time to, like, how many TV shows have you seen? Like, hell, we're talking about The Sopranos. You watch Tony Soprano in episode 1 in season 1, and then watch him in season 5. He's completely different.
Completely different.
His accent is thicker. There's so many things different of how he's felt and how he's maneuvered into this character. The same would be said in a television series with someone embodying Han Solo.
Yeah, if you want to get the confident, kind of arrogant, kind of offensive sometimes to women character as Han Solo is, I could see some growth in that, but it has to always have been kind of in there. Like,
it has to be in there.
With Tony Soprano, you know exactly where he could go.
He's always had that thing, and it's a progression into from the lifestyle he's in and everything. It's a progression of it, and I think a television show would have done that for Solo, even if it was like 8 episodes, or 6 episodes, like Obi-Wan will be.
Maybe that's where they learned, because Obi-Wan was originally rumored to be a movie.
It was a movie,
and so I think that course correction maybe is Kathleen Kennedy showing that. Oh, okay, I see. With certain characters like this, the movie didn't have enough time for it.
Probably, because there's a bigger risk in the box office failure. There's less of, there's still, it's just, if you're signed up for Disney Plus, and this is what I've been saying as an example for a while, if there's a movie that you don't want to see, let's say you have no interest in seeing a Solo movie, right? You're not going to pay the $12, $13 or whatever it is to get into the theater because it doesn't interest you. But if you're a Disney Plus subscriber and you subscribe because of The Mandalorian, and I'm putting on a Han Solo series, you'd probably watch it. You already paid for the damn service already. Why not give it a shot and maybe you love it? That's how you keep people coming back and continuously, okay, I'm going to keep this subscription, because you keep putting out stuff like Winter Soldier and all that stuff. There's some stuff, some movies that I don't necessarily know if I would have gone. Like, I probably wouldn't have seen WandaVision if it was a movie. If that was the whole premise from what I saw in the trailer, I probably wouldn't have paid the money to go see it. But then I wound up watching it on series. I already had Disney Plus. I'll watch it, and I loved it.
Yeah. I think moving to more focus on shows, A, before the pandemic even hit, and B, now post-pandemic or in pandemic life, is the smartest move that they've made. Yeah. Although we're getting movies coming out, I think that the main focus is shows.
And I think, and that's why I'm so curious to see how this all pans out. Because as much as I say that this one is one that I don't necessarily want to go back, watch it. I've only seen it. This is the second time I've ever seen it.
Same.
I don't think I ever watched it. I was trying to remember if I ever had. Maybe I did, but I don't think I did because it seemed fairly new. I remembered a lot of stuff, but I was like, yeah, I just never had it. Never wanted to go back and watch it. But saying all that, it doesn't mean that there wasn't stuff in there that I was very intrigued by. Like, I love the idea. Like, Enfys Nest, I think she should definitely come back some way or another in another series.
Yeah, she's a dope character.
Great character. Yeah. And I think that all the Crimson Dawn stuff and Qu'ira flying away in the yacht at the very end, looking down at him, and that, to me, could be the start of her series. And you don't have to see him again. We know what happens to Han Solo. He goes off. That was something that they mentioned that I don't know if they were setting it up on purpose, but he's going to Tatooine and there's a gangster. You would assume he's talking about that's how he gets in league with Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
You would assume. But then that's it. We know the rest. He winds up getting in with Jabba. He does a couple missions with them, and then he eventually winds up at the cantina and meets Luke and Obi-Wan, and that's fine. We know him.
We know the interesting stuff about Han because luckily we got to see it, and even in the newest films, I think what they did with Han Solo, they created way more depth for the character than we've like Force Awakens and all of the 3 films. I feel like Han Solo. We got to see that depth. Qu'ira is such an interesting character.
Where'd she go?
Where'd she go? Like, even like how she never got out, what she said to Han. That's so interesting to me.
Let's find out more about it. And then she goes back, and like, we don't need to have. We know that Han goes off and he winds up having a thing with Leia and has a kid. We know all that. What happened to her? Like, when she's in this mob world and she's working with Maul, like, what's happening during that time? Like,
what's her turn? Because there has to be a turn.
Does she get out? Does she die?
Like, what happens? That much, yeah, you're screwed over by society that much. The love of your life leaves, and
you left him on a beach.
But now you're surrounded by criminals.
Right,
you're gonna turn. So I want to see that.
That's why I think a series with her and with Emilia Clarke being as popular as she was on TV, and you announce her series and a Crimson Dawn series, I think that series works.
Yeah.
And because then you would get Maul, you get lightsabers, you get these things, you get the lead up, because we know Maul eventually gets ousted. Does she overtake him? Maybe she turns on the other side? Maybe there's ways to then blend in other characters that appear in Boba Fett or this other stuff. Maybe she appears in Book of Boba Fett. Doubtful, but maybe she does. I would love to see that out of all this stuff, after watching this by the end, I was really more intrigued for a Crimson Dawn series than I ever had been before.
Yeah, I'm kind of with that.
Yeah.
Especially on The Sopranos thing. I just think that would be really cool.
It's fun. But all right, this is our rewatch of Solo. Thank you guys for joining us here today. Thanks for Steph and Mike for joining us as well. Next week is Rogue One. So make sure you join us. If you haven't shared this with other people, please do. And we're available on podcasts. A lot of people not realizing or aware that we're on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the podcasts are found. So please make sure you check that out. This Sunday, it's a massive match, man. If you're able to make it to the Cantina, could be history. Marisol McKee faces off against Ethan Irwin for the championship. Marisol, the first woman to challenge for the championship since Clark Wolf in 2018. If she wins, she'll be the first woman to ever win the singles championship. She'll be the first African American to win the singles championship. So come see us at theschmodownlive.com and get tickets at the Scum and Villainy Cantina as Marisol goes up against Ethan Irwin. Dan Merle also on that card against Lon Harris, Bibiani versus Lieberman. 3 matches, but they're all worth it. So come check it out. Come say hi, have a drink, have some food. Okay, thank you guys so very much. We'll see you guys next week for Rogue One. Love you all. Peace.
Your anger. It gives you